Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to predict supporting actor and supporting actress for next year's Oscars. We just did lead actors, we just did picture. We gotta continue the predictions. Let's start with supporting actress. Alright, can we agree on the nomination for Ingenue Ellis for Nickel Boys? Even though we don't know what she's doing, what we do know is that if the Nickel Boys is an Oscar contender and the studio just slated it for like an October 20-something release, that is going to premiere at like probably Telluride or TIFF. It's Amazon MGM and it's like their movie this year. So it seems like it's going to be an Oscar contender. And from there, you say, who's getting nominated from it? And you're almost out of ideas except for Ingenue Ellis.
Now, we had some back and forth about this behind the scenes where you debate me about whether or not she's going to be Meryl Streep in Suffragette, like barely in the movie. And yeah. I say, based on my research, first fact,
that's what we're
she was billed as the lead when it was announced. Now, that doesn't say much because oftentimes actors will be announced for roles and they'll say that they have a leading part. But additionally, she's number 2 on TMDb, and I trust the order of the cast on TMDb, not IMDb. Do not look at IMDb when you want to figure out who has more screen time, who's the top billed.
We even have a character name now for her. We actually know
that
she's not playing a character from the book at all. She's playing probably...
I believe she's playing the police investigator in the B storyline. Yeah. And this storyline's not in the book, so we don't have insight into who this character is. We think she's the investigator reacting to the events and uncovering them. That's a very heavy role emotionally. We all love Ingenue Ellis. She's doing great work. We already saw her in Exhibiting Forgiveness where she's very good and she deserves a nomination for that, but that movie probably won't happen.
She got a little talk for like Origin last year and you know, not getting a lot of recognition that she deserves, and she's going to be in another film this year. Last video we were really debating, should we put her in for this or Earls? And you know, one of these movies we said is going to fall out. We have new information, folks. Earls is a no-go. Earls is a no-go, all right? So we basically know this for sure.
Public apology for putting this in the top 10. We guessed that it was like a TIFF thing. We just we didn't quite have enough to go off of, except for that it was Searchlight and that there wasn't really that much there other than
hey, listen. Gina Prince Bythewood wrote the screenplay. Like, it had a good cast. It was based off a good book. I think there's a world where you could make that into an Oscar contender. The problem is that we have confirmation now that the film is a Hulu original.
Yeah,
now
that's the thing.
You could be a Netflix original and get nominated. I'll believe a Hulu original when I see it. And as of now, I think that means that Searchlight is saying we have a real pain. We have Night Bitch, and early in the year we're doing Kinds of Kindness, and that's what we're doing.
Night Bitch was rumored to go to Hulu. They're confirming that those are going to theaters. So they believe more in those movies in terms of awards. I'm guessing for Night Bitch, they believe that Amy Adams could be a thing. But that might just be like too weird of a movie to pitch overall.
Well, I'm still pushing back on you that the movie's going to be too weird. I think it could be weird in all the right ways. I think it's a matter of whether or not the movie just like, you know, works or people like it.
If Nickel Boys isn't a favorite of the fall festivals, then maybe that won't, you know, maybe she won't go along. Maybe the Nickel Boys won't be in Best Picture. The thing that I want to do better this year, movies that are on my radar for Best Picture, but who like have actors and performances in there that I just don't see. So I'm like really digging through the Best Picture movies, looking for anybody that can be in that.
As you should.
Maybe they wouldn't make my top 5 at this point in time, but for example, America Ferrera in Barbie, like no one knew what her role was going to be. There's no like prior story to base it off of. You know, is there any way to call that? That's what I got to ask myself.
Maria Bakalova for The Apprentice.
That seems easy to me.
I think she's going to be going a little wild. I think she's going to be doing a lot.
I think it's going to be funny because... You know, you cast Maria Bakalova to get some laughs, don't you? I think she's a big role in it, and I think she's doing a lot. So I have confidence that if The Apprentice is like a Best Picture movie, that she's going to be in there. She's playing Ivana Trump, all right? And Ivana is like a character in real life. I saw one interview with her in her older age, and she's very much a character.
Isabella Rossellini for Conclave. Assuming Conclave's in Best Picture, I think she's going to have to do not that much to get in.
Sure.
As long as she has like one nice scene.
Yeah.
Like, she can be like Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer. Like, she doesn't have to do that much. I think that she has industry cred, and it would be nice to give her first nomination. There's a good reason to do it. Or she's like Vanessa Redgrave in Foxcatcher, where it's like, you know, unfortunately, she really only has like 4 minutes of like super solid screen time. I think she'll probably be in it more than that. I think it's probably going to be more than that. And so I think that that's a good bet. I put Isabella Rossellini in. That's what I do. She's the 4th biggest character, but that's
behind
that's
John
fine.
Lithgow.
That's
now.
fine.
It helps to be the only one of your gender in like the top, 10 of the cast. So this is a very male movie because it's about popes, but she's going to stand out just based on that alone. Think about like Carrie Condon in The Banshees of Inisherin. I mean, it sometimes gives you moments to shine, and even Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer. Rachel McAdams in Spotlight, to me, is a crazy example where she got in off of not doing a whole lot, but just being the woman in the ensemble. I'm feeling good about these three.
I think Danielle Deadwyler in The Piano Lesson is a decent bet. Now, whether or not this movie's in Best Picture, I mean, the last two August Wilson adaptations got 2 acting nominations each. This character was played by Danielle Brooks on Broadway. It's just sort of a fun fact. In iterations of this play in places where they can get nominated for play awards, mostly Samuel L. Jackson's the one who's picking up like nominations no matter what everywhere. But this character sometimes comes along for a nomination. She sometimes does. I saw a clip from like a TV movie or something where this character was like yelling at all the men, and I was like, yes, yeah, I understand. Yeah. Maybe the movie's not in Best Picture. Maybe it is. But I think either way, like, they owe Danielle Deadwyler big time for snubbing her for Till, because
don't even remind me.
I will remind you. Maybe this will happen.
I think that one's solid because The Piano Lesson's bound to pick up some acting nomination. Yeah, she seems like she could come along with it. I don't know.
I think yeah.
That feels like a good 4. 5, I'm a tier less certain about. So we have to kind of go through the options. I think
we have to go through the options.
Let's address what the community thinks in the Award Expert app. Danielle Deadwyler, a consensus #1 forming. That's interesting. Then Maria Bakalova, Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, Toni Collette #4
for juror number 2,
Clint Eastwood's courtroom thriller. Now, this film stars Nicholas Hoult, who I wouldn't suspect would get nominated for it, but like,
if it was in Best Picture, then who knows?
But Toni Collette is the second top billed. I don't know what her role is in it.
No one knows what her role is. It's an original script.
It's an original script.
Given that this is a talky film that's a courtroom drama, like, they usually are meaty.
And by the way, J.K. Simmons is next in line. If they're both playing lawyers, I'm looking out for
She could be a lawyer. She could be a juror.
Yeah. I kind of like it, though. I like it, too. I'm excited about Toni
And what happened
Collette
with Clint Eastwood's Richard Jewell? Kathy Bates was nominated for that, and a surprise.
Yeah.
And so people are thinking, why couldn't we get a situation like that again?
Even the films I was saying get nominated for acting awards, but not Best Picture, like, they get close to Best Picture. If you were to make a top 15, you would see the films nominated in acting categories, but not Best Picture. Like, you'd see them get into Best Picture. The Lost Daughter, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, The Whale. Even if juror number 2 is not in Best Picture, I could see this happening because I think it's going to be close-ish. She hasn't been nominated since The Sixth Sense, so she's definitely due. Number 5 in the app is Joan Chen for Dee Dee. Let's address this. We've seen Dee Dee at Sundance. One of the best films at Sundance, for sure. Now, her performance in it, I think people are going, oh, that's Ye Jung-yoon in Minari. Well, first of all, like, no, it's not funny. She's not a funny performance. She is playing like the first generation mother, and she's like very sweet and very understated, but that's the thing. She's understated compared to Ye Jung-yoon, who was like the standout, stealing the show, stealing laughs. It's not like that. And Joan Chen is actually kind of missing from the movie, it feels like, until the very end.
There are enough dinner scenes that it's like, okay, like she's there, and then at the end it's like, boom, she's got her big moment.
But it's not quite as much. It's like she's sprinkled.
It's John Hamilton in 8th grade. But in a different movie. I wouldn't disagree with this if I thought Dee Dee was getting Best Picture, but I don't think that it's the kind of thing that's going to happen without it. And I mean, she's not even like a previous nominee. Like, I don't know. I just don't really see it.
Yeah. She might get an indie spirit. Like, I would have to fully believe she's gonna get the indie spirit.
She could easily do that kind of thing.
But I still think it might happen. I'm not even convinced about that. Natasha Lyonne for His Three Daughters. This movie has been seen by us at TIFF last year. I would vote for her. My God. I thought it was an incredible performance. All the performances in His Three Daughters are excellent. And I think hers is actually the standout. There's a good case that she would be supporting and not lead. Like, they could easily, I think they would more easily put someone else towards lead to try to get her in. She has a couple scenes that are absolutely standout, but the film His Three Daughters is likely not Oscar bound.
Well, hold on. Netflix bought the movie. They're holding it to the fall. They give movies a proper campaign. She is amazing. And she's been nominated a lot for like TV for 2 different shows. Like people know who she is and stuff. So why couldn't like there be a strong enough campaign where she gets in.
There could be a grassroots. It would have to be a grassroots campaign.
Grassroots? No, it would be a Netflix campaign.
Yeah, but think about like Charles Melton in May December. That's what I think it could be.
That's fine, but I think the movie's not like as weird as May December. But it is like it doesn't feel like it's going to get Best Picture. I mean, on its very best day, I mean the thing maybe gets screenplay too.
Yeah,
it's kind of a tearjerker though.
No,
like she's the character.
It could drop, and it could have a Twitter moment where people are like, "Oh my God, give her an Oscar nomination."
Probably
or give her an Oscar, and if they do it at the right time, you know, they could have this like grassroots momentum.
Like, would she get critics awards though? Is kind of my question. For
yeah, she could.
You think she wouldn't?
Yeah.
It's I think that could insane that Charles Melton didn't translate. Like, that's
I know,
so sad.
But Charles Melton wasn't even the only nomination you could have campaigned May December with, and I see less nomination potential for this movie overall, which makes me think it's going to be hard for this to somehow like get over the same hurdles that Charles Melton had to get over.
Well, the hurdle was also that people didn't know who he was outside of that, which is not her problem. I think it's so strong that maybe it just happens, but also we know that, you know, justice doesn't really get served. Or the Oscars
justice just might not be served.
I would have her very close to the 5, though.
Rebecca Ferguson in Dune Part 2. I don't really believe in it.
I'm not doing it. I think she's more of a stand on the first one, even.
And as we'll see in supporting actor, we don't really believe anyone in Dune.
Wait, she's 8?
Yeah, she's 8.
I think
but that makes sense because Dune is the only movie people have seen.
I think it's still cuckoo, though.
Honestly, I'm like a little bit surprised that people aren't trying to throw her in at number 5 based on just how people react to movies early. Hong Chow in Kinds of Kindness.
That's fine.
I would consider it. I'm not gonna bet on this though.
I still think Kinds of Kindness is maybe screenplay or bust, but I could see possibly a supporting actor. If there is one supporting actress, and maybe everyone's supporting in the movie, then Hong Chow, I would say, sure. That makes
Kinds
sense.
of Kindness, though, a 2.5 hour dark comedy, or almost 3 hours. I just really don't
Playing different characters?
I really don't see awards for this, but I could see some critics like singling out maybe the performance.
Yeah, in the way that like maybe Benicio del Toro got a lot of critics hype for The French Dispatch, say.
Sure.
She could get that same sort of campaign.
Yeah. If you blow the goddamn roof off, then maybe.
I think some of these actors are going to blow the roof off.
Yeah, I think so.
And I want to see her play 3 different roles. Like, she's a great character actress.
But if we think about like Killing of a Sacred Deer or The Lobster, you know, those had great performances, but like no one.
Well, Lanthimos is on the Academy's radar like way more than he was back then.
It's a Wes Anderson situation.
Sure.
Like, yeah, sure, he just had the Grand Budapest Hotel, but then The French Dispatch, 0 nominations. Like, it's as if it didn't happen. I think you should treat it as though the poor things didn't happen, though.
Now, you're going to go all down the list, but you're going to miss somebody that I think is actually worth putting in the top 10.
Okay.
And that's Kelly Riley for Here. I don't know, like, if we can really go, you know, so far off of a role that we don't really know what it is. The one test screening reaction said that her and Paul Bettany were like really standouts, and that this person could see them getting nominated.
So I guess they have scenes together because they're the other couple.
Yeah, I think they're another couple at some other point in time. Now,
yeah.
If Here is indeed filmed from one perspective, which it may be, then it could be like watching a play. I'm considering having Here in the top 10. You know, we had to take Supremes out. Piano Lesson is exchangeable to me. I could maybe make an argument for putting Here in Best Picture. We put in Robin Wright for Best Actress, but she has like a big narrative on that. Kelly Riley, she's in like Yellowstone or something, so people kind of know her. If the movie's in Best Picture, it's definitely one of those things that you were saying. We got to pay attention to those supporting actors from those movies.
Yeah, like it doesn't hit for me as a thing that's going to happen, but if we're paying attention to Here, then sure. I've got all the Supremes people in here, just in case, but now that it's going to Hulu, I'm just going to say, nah.
Now, what about the Blitz people? Because you have 2 people in Blitz. Now, on TMDb, you have Erin Kellyman listed as the second after Saoirse Ronan. Now, they're probably friends, similar age. There's a little bit of age or like newcomer bias there. Maybe she's a little too young, but I think Blitz will have excellent performances all around. There's another actress in Blitz. She's like number 5 on TMDb, so she's not going to be the biggest, but I did look her up, and she does have 6 BAFTA nominations. Now,
wait, Kathy Burke has 6 BAFTA nominations?
Yes. And so, she might get BAFTA nominated. Like, she might only get BAFTA, or, you know, she pulls off that classic BAFTA-Oscar combo, right? Like, if she's really good. BAFTA will pay attention. That's all I'm saying. So I would actually, you know, I think she's worth having on the radar as well.
Yeah, maybe you could put her above Erin Kellyman for that reason.
I probably would.
It's just hard for young actors to get in.
We see the leapfrog. We see the leapfrog happen.
Yeah.
Julianne Moore for The Room Next Door.
This one I think is very much in consideration for top 5.
Yeah, I just don't think that she would get nominated without Tilda Swinton coming along and lead. So I think that she gets nominated if they like the movie enough where Tilda Swinton's in there and maybe it's in for screenplay or something. I mean, if it's in Best Picture, of course. But, you know, what did we see last year? She gave one of the best performances of the year in supporting, and it didn't happen because even though the movie was, like, arguably top 15, it just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. And apparently America Ferrera and Barbie was you know, the better performance there. I think she's either coattailing Tilda Swinton or the movie.
In Room Next Door, I think it's valid to say it's a top 10 movie, honestly.
You would say that?
Yeah.
Really? But you made the argument last time. You said that even Parallel Mothers and possibly Pain and Glory wouldn't have even been nominated were they in English.
And I stand by it, but given that it's Pedro Almodovar, we have to look out for like screenplay and director. This one's more visible, just based on the fact that it's in English.
If Almodovar were to break into Best Picture, I would want to see like the movie seem like it's about something bigger than just kind of like two friends sort of talking about how they deal with like their daughter. It just seems very like, you know, personal, small scale type of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't
Whereas
strike
even
me
Pain and Glory
as...
is like, oh, that's like autobiographical. Like that's kind of bigger to me.
It doesn't strike me as Almodovar's biggest movie, but let's keep this in mind. This movie may easily surpass 85 on Metacritic. Right?
Or it could be like, you know, maybe he dips a little bit on this one. It's like Julieta. What about like when Oscar Ferrati went English with Everybody Knows and like nobody cared about that movie?
And that happens all the time. Yeah, I don't want to get too excited. But even if it's just a really strong acting showcase with solid writing, even that. Speaking more of Best Picture movies where a sneak attack supporting performance could happen, I gotta say it. Catherine Keener in Joker, Folie à Deux, she's playing a secret role. So I don't know if that means she's someone from the comics. Likely, it kind of makes me think she is going to be someone from the comics.
Wait, why is it secret?
Because that's the thing. Why is it secret? Like, she's probably playing someone from the comics. They don't want to announce her character.
I like that.
And also, that's why she's not in the trailer. So you can't go, oh, she's not in the trailer.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, right. So they're trying to, like, cover it up. But, you know, they're targeting a role that's fun and interesting and surprising. I don't know if that kind of thing gets into the Oscars, like if it's a surprise comic book movie character. It seems a little out there for me, but maybe it could happen. I mean, Catherine Keener, everyone knows who Catherine Keener is. She's been nominated for Oscars before.
But I feel like it might be like Joker 1, where nobody except for the lead performances gets close.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. That's probably what's going to
happen. But I
agree
with you, Catherine Keener, we can keep her on the radar.
Yeah. Now, there's The End, which we think is to be taken seriously for Best Picture, so who's in The End? There's Moses Ingram, who plays protagonist's girlfriend. Is that right?
She's like an outsider who shows up at their house and then starts like dating him, I think.
She's a younger actress. Again, I'm gonna hold that against like their Oscar chances. And then there's Brona Gallagher in The End. We have no idea what she's doing.
Well, hold on. Why are you looking this far down the list?
She's number 5. Think about Judge Hirsch in The Fabelmans. You know, you just never know when someone can come out.
That was Judd Hirsch.
Sure. It's probably not worth considering that much.
I feel like usually you don't get nominated if you're like number 5 in the cast, if we're being honest.
Now we can talk about Connie Nielsen in Gladiator 2. If Gladiator 2 is a Best Picture movie, some people were shouting her out. I don't know.
People were shouting her out at a test screening.
Yeah, at a
saying that she was like, oh, she's going to make her name known for this movie. Those screening reactions were very good. The trailer, people said that they thought the trailer at CinemaCon was very good.
But you can be excited about Gladiator without it being a Best Picture thing.
Well, so I don't know what to make of this. That there are some good signs for the movie so far. Maybe Gladiator 2 is the legacy sequel that gets nominated this year.
I think we do have to take Gladiator 2 seriously.
What about Michaela Cole for Mother Mary?
She's probably going to be really good. I have a feeling that Mother Mary is going to have two of the best lead performances of the year between Michaela Cole and Anne Hathaway. Though Michaela Cole seems like she's going to be campaign supporting. You know, if I thought that people were going to bite Mother Mary, I would be like, let's throw her in. Let's throw her in.
Leslie Manville in Queer, I think it sounds good, but I would suspect it's maybe just small or not enough, and it's going to be more of like, you know, Daniel Craig and Drew Starkey, I think, are going to be the more key performances there.
If I told you Queer was nominated for Best Picture and I looked into the future, would you say Leslie Manville is also nominated?
I would still go with Daniel Craig only for now. Valeria Golino for Maria is somebody that I have on the radar. Now, the past two Pablo Larraín biopics didn't really have any supporting hype going, but we know that she has one of the biggest roles.
What about Megalopolis?
Aubrey Plaza?
Anybody. Just anybody in Megalopolis.
Well, I think that one actress might be lead, but they could put her supporting.
Oh, I also would like to say Michelle Austin in Hard Truths. She's the second top billed in Hard Truths. If Hard Truths was really good and it was more than just Marianne Jean-Baptiste, then she would be like the next person to get a nomination. I think that's totally fair.
A supporting actor, we do have Samuel L. Jackson at #1. I think your community has this as well. Am I wrong about that? And this makes sense. You know, even last year, when we heard that this was happening, everybody said Samuel L. Jackson's #1. Now, we know this because he played the role on Broadway. Reminds you of Viola Davis in Fences and Denzel Washington and... You know, they played those roles on Broadway. He just is the standout character. Like, he's the father.
And it would be a narrative thing, too. Like there's already such a clear narrative to give him an Oscar for his whole career.
Just easy.
Yeah, he's only been nominated for Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, and here comes his second nomination. It's like basically guaranteed, right? It's basically he's guaranteed to get nominated.
Seems like it. I don't know what would have to happen, what kind of world war.
The formula is just
natural
there.
disaster would have to happen.
The formula's there.
Yeah.
Then you have Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice, who's playing... Donald Trump's trusty lawyer that he gets to do all kinds of shady things with. This seems like a great role for Jeremy Strong. He's going to be in a
he's
lot.
like, he's weirdly bronzed. He looks a little bit transformed, like totally going to get in there if The Apprentice is what we think it is. And I also heard that he goes nuts. And that's his favorite thing to do. He loves to go nuts.
That's just the thing about The Apprentice, man. When you break down the three performances that we think are getting nominated, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like unless the movie just like sucks and everyone just flops. We got Clarence Macklin and Sing Sing. Does the community still think that Paul Raci's getting in instead of him?
No, they changed their minds.
They changed their mind. So... Clarence Macklin is the supporting standout of the cast in Sing Sing.
He's not only the standout, he's a very important character in the film. Like, it's very much about his dynamic with Coleman Domingo. It did leave me feeling like I did want one more scene with him. So I don't know if it's like a winning thing or not.
No, I don't think it's quite winning.
Yeah. It's fun to nominate unknowns or like people who are doing their first role. Weirdly, I don't think it's a lock. Like, I don't want to go and say that he's definitely getting nominated for it.
That would kind of suck.
It would kind of suck, but I could see him not getting in everywhere.
You're saying, like, you know, in the situation where it's like Past Lives and none of the actors can get in?
Yeah,
But Sing Sing is such an actor's movie.
Because I was confident that John Majara would get in for Past Lives, and that just didn't happen.
I don't know. This is the most actor's movie.
It's not the most showy. Like, Coleman Domingo, for sure. Like, there's not much question in my mind. I have a little bit of a question mark for Clarence Macklin.
Clarence Macklin's character has a whole, like, vulnerability arc. Stanley Tucci for Conclave.
At this point, since we're going in hard on Conclave, we have to put in one of the actors there, and he's the second top billed.
It's him or John Lithgow. Now, some people would like to say it's John Lithgow because he hasn't been nominated, and maybe it's both of them, to be frank. Like, that could definitely be... That's definitely a contender for a double nomination.
Yeah, I should consider that,
You know, for now, I'm just going to say it's him.
And let's keep in mind, last year was the first year in many years where there was not a double supporting nomination. I just want to put that back on people's minds that could easily happen.
I mean, it could also happen for Blitz. You have Harris Dickinson and Stephen Graham, who are kind of in the race for that, you know, Blitz slot if there's a supporting boy. Yeah. Now, Harris Dickinson, you know, the Academy will recognize him from Triangle of Sadness, and he's been in a lot of things. Stephen Graham is more of a British actor. He's probably less well-known here in the States.
I'm a little bit skeptical that Blitz is going to be like a 4-acting or a 3-acting nomination movie. I just see it like turning up a little bit shorter than that.
Yeah, Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain. Now, we talked about last video that because studios will never campaign 2 actors in lead, they'll probably campaign him in supporting actor. And, you know, like, I believe that he's a co-lead with Jesse Eisenberg, but it's not terrible. Like, if he gets nominated in supporting, I'm just glad he gets nominated for it, really. If the movie's not in Best Picture, obviously that hurts him. But the performance just got so much buzz out of Sundance.
When people see A Real Pain, they're going to agree that his performance is really extraordinary.
It'll be one of the great injustices of the year if he's not nominated.
People are going to consider it an injustice if he picks up momentum. So if he doesn't get that momentum where the early critics groups tease us with Kieran Culkin getting nominations, then we're not going to like see it as an injustice.
We've been talking a lot about Searchlight just because, you know, oh, do they have a contender or don't they? But the bottom line is this. A Real Pain is one of Searchlight's big films that they're positioning in awards season, and they're a studio who can run a campaign. Oh, that alone is just like...
It's actually their biggest film. Arguably their biggest film.
Yeah, it could be their biggest film. Bitch. They probably believe in it. They probably actually think they have a real shot for Best Picture.
Yeah, they're trying. They want
And I've warmed up to the fact that like maybe I would put the movie in at like squeeze it in at number 10. Like maybe I would even do that because I just think it's a movie that will be palatable enough for Oscar voters. Him coming off of Succession and sweeping lead actor for the final season. Bryan Cranston and Trumbo got the nomination partly because people love him so much from Breaking Bad. And him and Jeremy Strong might get nominated in the same year. In the same category even. I think there's just a lot of goodwill for him, and the performance is like that amazing that if the movie actually did end up getting into Best Picture, in my brain I'd go, wait a minute. If it's in Best Picture, can he win for that? That's what I would think, because it's that big.
It does leave me wondering whether they could decide to campaign both in lead, or they could just swap them around Carol style. The only thing I'd say about A Real Pain is, I'm trying to assess its Oscar chances. Most people who see it think it's 4 out of 5. Now, that's great, but when it comes out, I would be needing to see more people being like, that's the top 10 of the year.
Jeremy Pope in the collaboration is interesting. This movie is probably close to being like dual lead, but I think that he'll be supporting. There are lots of clips that you can look up of him performing this role on the stage. And you can see that he looks very good in it. And that's all you can really say. Anthony McCartan's writing it, so maybe it's sort of a two popes thing. I think it's a very possible nomination. I would have him in my 10. Michael Shannon for The End. I think that's probably the most likely male nomination for that movie. If The End is big, he can possibly come along for that. Denzel Washington in Gladiator 2. If Gladiator 2 is in Best Picture, or even maybe he has an Angela Bassett situation on his hands where he's just so good, and the movie's like also good, like, you know, mostly lives up, but they don't quite want to put it into picture. Like, you know, what people said from the trailer is that he looks amazing. Denzel Washington, I mean, he kills everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to put that in my top 5. I am.
Really?
Yeah, because even if it's not in Best Picture, that's a big deal. Denzel Washington in Gladiator, if people like that film, and he's playing this evil like, role and eating it up, devouring it.
I also think Chris Hemsworth in Furiosa is not to be underestimated.
Well, that's only if Furiosa is a Best Picture contender. That's only
I mostly agree with that. I mean, I don't think the Angela Bassett situation is gonna be very common in terms of like that type of genre movie getting an acting nomination but not being in picture. But he looks really like he's having a blast in the trailer, and he has like some makeup on, like he's sort of like his different nose or whatever. Something's happening there.
I'm really looking at Drew Starkley in Queer. I just know in advance that he's gonna be a breakout, and that critics are going to shower him with praise. People are going to love him in the film. Now, does that translate to award success? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If Queer is a Best Picture thing, then maybe it could, and it could be like a Timothée Chalamet in Call Me By Your Name thing, where he was kind of an unknown, and then he got so much hype that he was able to get nominated. That's definitely worth considering, and I think it just happens if Queer is in Best Picture.
If somebody's going to get nominated for the Nickel Boys, it might be Hamish Linklater. The problem with this performance is probably that because he's a villain, like a nasty, evil person.
Yeah, and racist, too.
People may just dislike the character so much that they're like, I don't really
He might just be a one-dimensional racist principal or superintendent, and I don't think that gets you nominated.
Well,
it would have to be a complex role, and I don't think they're going to add complexity to it.
I mean, what about Michael Fassbender for 12 Years a Slave? He's just a pig.
Like, yeah, but they dived into him. I mean, they dived into his alcoholism and his sadness a little bit.
I mean, they could go there with this character.
They gave him a character.
But I feel like people won't, want to nominate this that badly. And then you have the actors from Bird. You have either Franz Vergo. I think Franz Vergo. I know Barry Keoghan's, hot right now, and he's been a little more in the Academy's attention. He's been nominated.
Yeah.
But I think Franz Rogowski, as the titular Bird character and the person that the protagonist kind of runs off to be with, I think he's going to be the standout. More so than Barry Keoghan, who's playing the character's father. So I'd have him above Barry Keoghan for that reason. And if Bird is in Best Picture, I think that he's coming along.
J.K. Simmons for Juror Number 2. I would be cool with it. I mean, the fact that he got nominated for Being the Ricardos shows that there's some clout
I know.
For in his name.
I know what you're saying. That's fine. Paul Bettany for here. Kind of the same with Kelly Riley.
Yeah.
You know, that just could be a thing.
Now, Brian Tyree Henry, the fire inside, he's playing a boxing coach. That's why this is a thing. But it's a summer release film. And
where's the trailer? Is it really summer release? I'm starting to believe that it's...
I know. That's the thing. It's like, where is this movie?
So Megalopolis, if it's not Megaflopolis, who are we nominating? I heard that Shia LaBeouf's character is like the most off-the-walls big performance.
Yeah.
But... I don't think we want to nominate Shia LaBeouf.
It's going to remind people of him for all the reasons they don't like him.
But I think people might have better will towards Giancarlo Esposito, who I think may have also like a nice role in the movie. Like I think if Megalopolis was in Best Picture, somebody would get nominated. I mean, the cast is huge.
If you want to go for Kinds of Kindness, like obviously you're going to say Jesse Plemons. I don't have much to say about it.
Well,
I don't
you could
really
say
think it's going to
Willem
happen.
Dafoe. Why would you?
You could say Jesse Plemons or Willem Dafoe. That's right. I don't really have much to say about it because we kind of talked about Kindness.
I don't
of
think
Kindness,
that's happening.
And that's what I think about that. Nosferatu, if you want Bill Skarsgård playing
if you
the vampire,
want
Willem Dafoe as well.
I don't think so.
But Willem Dafoe's going to be character acting.
I actually am not going to have Bill Skarsgård on my list.
That's fine.
I'm not even going to do it.
There's Haluk Bilgner in Maria, and he has a big role in it, but I don't know if Maria's going to get anything outside of lead performance. He's the lead in Winter Sleep, so I'm actually really excited to see him in this film. There's Scoot McNairy for Night Bitch, which maybe it could be a thing, because
I don't know. I feel like he's
get
just
acting nominations.
Amy Adams going to be doing so much, and he's going to be the husband.
John Earl Jelks for Exhibiting Forgiveness. When I saw that film, I was like, that is an Oscar-worthy performance. But again, Exhibiting Forgiveness, I'm not banking on it. Maybe it gets an Indie Spirit nomination.
I don't get like where that movie's going. Roadside Attractions got it.
Now, Dune Part 2, we have to address it because guess who's in the top 5 in the community predictions?
Wait, Austin Butler's in the top 5?
Yeah.
Get that out of there.
But look at this. Like 6% of people are saying he's going to win. It's only 26% of people saying he's going to get nominated, just because it just speaks to the fact that people are split right now on what to do. Let's be serious, though. Let's be serious. That it's not going to happen. I know people like Austin Butler, but you're young and he's young. You're most likely young, and you just like him. That's all I gotta say. You just like him. It's not about
that he's a Mr. Sexy Boy and that he's like licking knives. But that's not.
And he's playing psychopath.
It's a little too one-dimensional villain, I think. And I would still argue that Javier Bardem's above him, because Javier Bardem has more Oscar clout, and I think he's quite good in the movie. But I also still think Dune Part 2 is not going to get any acting nominations. That's my stance right now.
And Javier Bardem is significantly below him at number 13. No one's going to take off for Dune Part 2 is my prediction. If it happens, I'll be very shocked, and you can berate me.
Now, someone you don't have, I think, is Guy Pearce for The Brutalists. I don't know what is going on with this movie, or where it is, or if it exists. Apparently it's in post-production. I'm convinced that like they will be shipping footage overseas, and the boat will sink, and it'll never exist. Other people that we can mention if we want to, Paul Raci for Sing Sing. Do you think there's any possibility that he either leapfrogs or just gets in because the movie's big?
No, I don't see him.
I think they could have given him one more scene, and I would have been maybe convinced about that.
Sure.
David Weber for Hard Truths. Like if you're looking for an actor, looking for an actor.
Mike Feiss in Challengers is number 14 in the community. So like, should we discuss it?
I think Challengers is going to be that Josh O'Connor goes lead and Mike Feiss goes supporting. I think that's what's going to happen. Even if Challengers was in Best Picture, I think they'd probably nominate Zendaya and nobody else. But I think Challengers, I just don't think it's going for that. Like, I would move it higher. Like, I didn't have it on my list last time. Like, I would have it on the list. Because I think that no matter what, Challengers will end up in a position where it's kind of a maybe for, like, Critics' Choice or AFI. And it's an actual maybe for editing. Maybe it gets, like, longlisted for BAFTA and editing. Longlisted Oscar for the score. At the end of the day, when you throw away all the contenders that just don't make it, I think Challengers will stay in the top 20, if not top 15.
Top 20,
just by being really good and a lot of people liking it and having some craft,
hovering around the editing category, I guess,
or screenplay.
Editing and screenplay category.
Yeah. Also, I feel like there are some normie opinions out there with Challengers where I mean, that's like under an 80 with audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. And some people are probably like, they were playing the music so loud during the talking scenes. I just think it's a little Letterboxd young people.
You know, we didn't mention anybody in Horizon.
I have nobody to mention. I'm not doing that. If SNL 1975 comes out this year, we can maybe consider Rachel Sennett. Maybe.
Maybe.
But that movie may not come out this year. It might blitz the end of the year. is Cooper Hoffman going to get like a supporting nomination? Like, I don't think so. You know, I think that movie will probably be more like fun to watch people playing other people. But I don't know if it's going to be like a fucking masterpiece. Those are our acting predictions for the Oscars next year. I don't know if we'll have more predictions before you go to Cannes, but you are going to Cannes. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
What do you think Kieran Culkin's fate will be this award season?